I don't need you anymore." These were the words that hurled at my wife at my father's funeral after having been his primary caregiver. "And I feel sorry for you for being the housekeeper, though you're a total stranger." It is true that I am the one who is not related to my father by blood, but my relationship with my father was like that of a real parent and child. As I was thinking about this, I stood up and said, "You're a stranger to me as of today, too." My name is Kevin, and I'm 35 years old. I have been married to my wife Jane, who is 2 years younger than me, for 6 years, but we have no children yet. When we first got married, my wife moved in with me to a house close to my parents. We were both very nice people, so we visited them often and had a good relationship. However, 4 years ago, my father was seriously injured in a car accident that left him paralyzed from the waist down. My mother was left to care for him alone after he was discharged from the hospital. My wife suggested that we move in with my parents and take care of him together, but my mother refused, saying that it would be fine and that we should enjoy our newlywed life. Even so, my wife still went to help out whenever she had time, like during the daytime on weekends. Such a life continued for about 2 years, and we were having a good time with my parents. However, my mother caught a cold and suddenly passed away. After my mother's funeral, we had a discussion about how to take care of my father in the future. I have an older sister, Jennifer, who is 5 years older than me. She was married and living in the city next to ours. Jennifer said bluntly, "I have children I have to take care of at home, so don't expect any caregiving from me." To my father. To that, he replied, "I'm going to a nursing home, so I'll be fine. I won't bother any of you." He looked somewhat sad. My wife was quietly listening to the discussion behind us because she treated it as a step-family matter, but she felt she had to speak up here and stood up. "I will take care of you." Everyone was surprised to hear her say this. "Are you sure? I would be very happy to still live with my father, but it won't be a burden on you, Jane?" I asked my wife to make sure. "What do you think I've been doing all this time with my mother-in-law teaching me all this stuff?" she answered with a laugh. "I want to be with your father too, and I can't imagine putting him in any nursing home." My father thanked her for these words, holding in his tears. Jennifer said, "Yes, that's right. If we were to put him anywhere else, it would be a waste of money, and if Jane could take care of him, everything would work out well." It seems that only one person has a different reason for not wanting to institutionalize him. However, if I say something to Jennifer, she brings up unrelated matters and comes back 10 times more, so I just kept quiet until the end of the conversation. I have always had a hard time with this person. She's the kind of person who needs to be treated like a princess at all times. She is also very greedy with money, so when it comes to my father's care this time, she is selfish enough to say that she won't take care of him, but doesn't want to put him in a nursing home. Since it was difficult for us to move everything in right away, we asked for a daytime home care service for a while as we packed for moving. We were already in the neighborhood, so we decided to carry a little bit of what we could ourselves. My parents had most of the large items, so we asked the movers to move only the bare necessities. We had to wait about 2 weeks until our schedules worked out, but the move was completely without incident. I also took the initiative to help take care of my father when I could get some time off at night or on holidays. However, since I had taken over the company my father had built and was working as the president, it was difficult for me to take time off. My wife doesn't want me to take on too much, and she always tells me to take it easy. My father also told me that we should rely on the home care service whenever Jane is too tired. He said it was refreshing to talk to a caregiver because he had fewer opportunities to talk to people outside of his family and the hospital. While having such conversations, my wife had been taking care of my father mostly alone for a year, since my mother passed away, when one day, suddenly, someone came to visit her. "It's been a while. How have you been?" It was Jennifer. "Hi, what brings you here all of a sudden? It's a weekday today, right? Where are your children?" Surprised by the unannounced visit, my wife asked a series of questions. Jennifer, looking slightly annoyed, answered, "Just let me in already. Why do I have to stand here on the doorstep forever?" Jane was sure that not letting her in was basically harassing her, so she asked her to come in, and she sat down on the sofa in the living room with a thump. "I'm divorced now, so I'm going to live here from today." My wife and my father both looked blankly at each other. "What do you mean you're divorced? What happened? What happened to my grandchildren?" my father asked Jennifer. Jennifer looked annoyed with all the questions and said, "He found out about my affair. He got custody of them." "What?" Nobody knew about Jennifer's affair. When I came home, I was obviously surprised to hear that Jennifer was there. I had never heard about the affair or divorce either, so I rushed to contact Jennifer's husband. According to him, she had cheated on him and had already filed for divorce. When I asked him about the alimony, he told me that it had been paid out of her portion of her mother's estate when she passed away, and they had agreed that there would be no division of property. So Jennifer, who had lost her place to live, had returned to her parents' home. My father, who was furious with her, offered Jennifer a deal. "You're welcome to stay here, but you will have to pay at least $500 a month for rent, food, and other expenses, the same as Kevin and his family. Also, you will have to do the minimum chores yourself." Hearing these conditions, Jennifer mutters something about why she needs to pay to live at her parents' house. Jennifer's father told her, "Kevin has been putting in $2,000 a month, and Jane is a perfect housekeeper and a great cook." Jennifer was not pleased. Jennifer said, "You're a full-time housewife, so it's only natural that your housework is perfect." But in the end, Jennifer agreed to pay. Jennifer started working part-time 3 times a week for 6 hours a day after she returned. However, the other 4 days she stayed in her room and did not help with my father's care at all. Jane was the one to cook all the meals and do all the housework. My father would say, "Why don't you at least help out a little with the housework? I think that was a condition of you living here. But since you came here, you haven't done any housework or cooking." My father did his best to warn Jennifer once in a while, but she would never listen. She wouldn't even clean her own room. Jennifer was so lazy that all of us wondered if she was really a housewife. Whenever my father said something to her, she would take it out on my wife. "You're not my family. Do you understand that you're merely a housekeeper? My father lives with you because he wants you to take care of him." She would say things like that. She had no intention of taking care of her own father, and when my wife passed Jennifer with a bag of body waste, she would say to her, "Damn, it stinks. Why do you have that dirty thing? Get away from me." Everything was securely packed in its special bag, so there was no smell and no way she could see what was inside. My wife wanted to retort that her own body waste would smell worse, but she held it in. To top it off, my father has been going to daycare once a week since Jennifer arrived. While he was out, Jennifer would say things like, "I can't wait to get my inheritance," or "I would move out as soon as I get my inheritance." I think it's a relief that she didn't say that when my father was there. Jennifer has been back at her parents' for a year now. Not once did she get involved in my father's care. Then one day, my father suddenly caught a cold and caught pneumonia. He was hospitalized but never recovered and unfortunately left us. My wife and I cried so hard that we forgot that we were in the hospital. However, Jennifer did not show up at the hospital until the very end. Jennifer didn't do anything about the funeral arrangements either, and on the day of the funeral, I changed into my suit with swollen eyes and greeted the people who came to the funeral. Jennifer showed up as it was just about to begin and smiled at my wife, who was already seated. "I don't need you anymore. Just get out of here," she shouted at her. I couldn't understand what was going on and was standing there in a daze. "And I feel sorry for you for being the housekeeper for a whole 2 years, though you're a total stranger," she added with a laugh. I felt sorry for Jennifer, who could only think of my wife as a housekeeper. Just as my wife was about to say something back, I took her hand in mine. "You're a stranger to me as of today, too," I told Jennifer, looking her straight in the eyes. "What?" Jennifer was in loss of words. I looked around and everyone is looking at us. "Jane is my precious family. If you treat her like a housekeeper and call her a stranger, I'm cutting you off today. Including our father and mother, we have all acted with consideration for each other. But what about you, Jennifer? You live with us, but you only think about yourself. You don't even put money into the house, even though your father told you to. You didn't help take care of him at all, and didn't even do the bare minimum of housework. We can't consider you family. I can't live with a stranger, so get out of our house." I proceeded with no pause. "I am the eldest of this family, and if you are my brother, you should protect your sister." Hearing these words, the people around me began to murmur. When the funeral was about to start, the funeral director came to give me a sign. My wife told Jennifer coldly, "We'll let you sit in the family section today, but I want you to leave when this is over." Jennifer, noticing the whispering around her, took a seat, leaving one seat open next to my wife. Soon, the funeral started as planned. Right after the funeral, Jennifer was gone. I was slightly worried that she might have been sulking at home, but when I returned after seeing my father off safely, Jennifer was not there. However, there was a note on the living room table saying that she should be back in a week. I guess she didn't expect to find herself being kicked out of the house at a time like this, I didn't know if she would really be back, but we had been busy with our father's things, reflecting on the memories with him. Then, 1 week after the funeral, we were taking a break when Jennifer came to our house, and there was a man in a suit standing next to her.
Well, now that it's all done, let's talk about the inheritance.
Jennifer suddenly got down to business without even greeting us. It had only been a week since my father passed away, and it was too inappropriate. We still had a lot of procedures to go through, so my wife had suggested to talk about it another time, but she did not care about that.
I have his will here. I'll leave after I see it, so let's get on with it.
And she proceeds as she likes. The will, there was a form that had been typed on a computer. Moreover, there was nothing on it to prove who had written it. It was just a series of names and details. The content of the will was that all the inheritance would be given to Jennifer. It was impossible for my father to write such a foolish thing. The man next to Jennifer, who claimed to be a lawyer, said, "Please sign your consent over there. I have prepared it with your father here for you to review." The wife was suspicious and asked,
"Are you really a lawyer?"
For confirmation. He showed her the badge and said, "Of course, this badge is the evidence." I know it's not nice to say things like this, but it's possible to borrow someone else's badge or make one that looks like it.
"Please tell me your registration number,"
she asked him further. The man claiming to be a lawyer was flustered. He did not seem to want us to know his number. Watching this exchange, I said to him, "Please, get out of here," and took him to the front door.
"Excuse me, my name is James Brown, and I am the attorney who is entrusted with the will by your father."
A lawyer by the name of Brown came in through the front door. This man named James Brown was actually Kevin's corporate lawyer. He was a lawyer who had been a good friend to my father since his generation. It seemed that my father had prepared a will regarding the inheritance, thinking that he could leave it to this man. The man who had just called himself a lawyer became small and was about to leave quickly. The moment Mr. Brown saw the man, he let out some words. The man was a former member of Mr. Brown's office. Of course, he was not a lawyer or anything. This time, he was on the hook for Jennifer's money-making offer. He said he went to the trouble of making a fake lawyer's badge for that purpose. Apparently, this man met Jennifer on a dating site. Incidentally, the will that Mr. Brown brought us had my name and my wife's name on it too, because she was the one who took care of him every day. It seems that the will stated that he was to give 2/5 of his property, each to his son and daughter-in-law, and 1/5 to his daughter. My wife thought that this was a little too much for her, but both of us were very grateful. My father seems to have made this distribution on the grounds that Jennifer had not put any money into the house, or did not do any housework. However, Jennifer is no longer entitled to receive anything because she forged the will. Therefore, my wife and I inherited everything from the house, from the money to the shares of the company, as it was. Jennifer, who was no longer entitled, began to abuse the fake lawyer in front of us, saying that her lie had been exposed because of him. Like I said at the funeral, you and I are strangers now, and you need to get the hell out of my house. Don't show your face in front of us again, and if I see you coming near me, I will go to the police. Again, Jennifer said,
"I am the daughter of the family, and I am entitled to my inheritance, not this stranger woman."
But she was the one who had committed the injustice. I had no sympathy for the fact that she had given up the opportunity to receive a substantial inheritance if she had kept her mouth shut. When Jennifer learned that she would not get her inheritance, she tried to stay in the house. To stop her from doing so, my wife said,
"Really, please just stay away from us. If I see you even a little bit, I won't hesitate to call the police from now on."
She said this quietly, but with a sharp tone. I think this was the first time she had ever made such a voice. She was surprised at the sound of her own voice, but I guess Jennifer was the one scared to death. She made a small noise and ran away with as much luggage as she could carry. I knew that the word police was very effective for this kind of person. After that, we never saw Jennifer again. Rumor had it she was working day and night to make a living. She also started working at a nightclub, but apparently she went to the wrong place since the customers were looking for young girls, not people over 40. By the way, we had a child shortly after that and are living comfortably at home, but I regretted that I could not show our child to my parents. From now on, I hope to make many memories with my child and enjoy his growth in this house, filled with so many precious memories.